All right. So good evening. Welcome to our next webinar, our May installment here, where we're going to be talking to our admissions officers. If I could start by asking some folks to just give me affirmative. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Do you see admissions officers? They should come on the screen here shortly. If you do want to share your thoughts, any questions, or if you have a guest with you and they're not showing up under the participants, just have their name typed into the column on the left-hand side. There's a little thought bubble on the lower left. You can click that I am thought bubble, use that instant messaging feature, let us know who's with you if you have a guest with you. We just want to make sure that everyone's captured and gets the credit for attending these events. So I appreciate everyone being here today. As we go through, like most presentations, it'll be about 30 minutes long. At the end, we'll leave some time for Q&A. So if you have any questions at the end, please feel free to put those online as well. You see Megan here as well. Hi, Megan. Hi. So hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend. It was nice and relaxing. For all those folks who are running around the country helping us with appointment presentations, we greatly appreciate that. We've covered about 65 out of 101 so far appointment presentation requests. We have probably about 8 pending requests, so we've covered most of the requests coming in. So it's really a great opportunity to get up and do a feel-good mission as far as talking with other folks about the opportunity. Darnell, do you mind closing that door? Sorry. So today's webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to cover our admissions officers. I'll just have Darnell close the door there. It gets a little bit noisy out in the main lobby. Just want to check your mic is off mute.
Well, it has a little thing through the microphone.
Yeah, just click that. Okay. All right, so you should be able to hear them. Give us a mic check.
Mic check. 1, 2.
There you go. There's Darnell. And
I should see visual switch between us, so hopefully it works. And again, thank everybody for being here. So
what we're going to cover today is admissions officers, the topics, and I'll come back to this slide and just kind of ask them a little bit about their backgrounds, where they came from the Coast Guard, primary duties and responsibilities, collaborative duties, life as an admissions officer, their travel schedule, which can get certainly busy during the application cycle because they're also reading files, admissions officer preferences, kind of how they act out on the road, best ways to interact with them, how they speak to students, parents, schools, and then interacting with volunteers as well. So just cover some of those topics. I'll bring this back up on the screen, but want to get started with our admissions officer map. So if you haven't seen it, this is our updated summer admissions officer regional map. Some changes that you'll notice are Ensign Garofalo. She's taking over for Jerry Korn down in the southeast region. So if you haven't met Ensign Garofalo yet, she should be sending out emails to folks introducing herself, just saying hi to everybody. And please, reach out to her, email, phone calls. It's all great to kind of get a hold of folks. And of course, the AMs here will give you their best preference for getting in touch with them. But Tess is here. She'll be taking over New England. Is that right?
No, I'm New England right now. I'm taking over.
Okay.
I was West Coast on
Perfect.
So I'll play the whole US.
So she'll be covering most of the U.S. And then we've got Lieutenant Doherty, who's actually moving into operations to be operations support, where Ben was. Darnell sticking around the Midwest, the Great Lakes, he calls it God's country, and then on the West Coast with Omar Castillo. So that's where we're going to be all spread out this year. So take note, get in touch with the folks, and go on. So I'm going to hand it over to both our admissions officers, kind of let them do a quick introduction of themselves. I've got here Lieutenant Tess Swiecanski and Lieutenant Darnell Talbert. And to start us off, as far as introduction, is Tess. So Tess, I'll hand it over to you.
So I did graduate here. It's actually just Mary and I for the 2 graduates for admissions officers, and she's going to be rotating back in. Graduated here in 2012. That's a picture of my uncle and I. He was Special Forces Army. He did my graduation for me, and then I went to Key West, Florida for 2 years. So I was a deck watch officer. I got to be LSO. I loved it. So I did drug interdiction, migrant interdiction. We even won an award for part of the time I was there. So I got to go to New York City. So it was a really good tour to start off with. And then I just transferred here 2017. So I spent 3 years in Seattle, Washington. I did a little bit of marine inspections and then also pollution response. And I just recently made lieutenant only a few years ago. So I'm still a baby lieutenant if I think about it. But it was a great tour. I loved the West Coast, and that's why I really picked West Coast when I got here. And that's just with everything that happened, because our campus program, she had her baby recently, little Charlotte, so I had to switch over, actually Eleanor, sorry, Charlotte's the other one, but so I had to switch into New England, and then I'm going to take over Mid-Atlantic for Brennan. So.
Great. What are some of these pictures, like
flag? For the American flag, we were Seahawks Armed Forces one year. The one with my mom and I is when she came out for when I made lieutenant, and then like we're testing our dry suits off the pier, inspecting the boats at a Glacier National Park, and then the very bottom one is my first cross country coach and I, the first summer I got here. So
cool. Thanks for sharing.
Hi.
Darnell.
A little bit about myself. I grew up in mostly sunny San Diego, California. Both my parents are in the Navy. They're both enlisted members. Got a long line of enlisted people in my family, serving in the Navy and the Marine Corps. So my parents, their goal for me was to be the first Navy officer in the family, as well as the first college graduate. So that's kind of how I grew up, focused on going to Annapolis. And then during halfway of my senior year, I decided I didn't want to go to the Naval Academy, and I ended up going to the University of Michigan. I played sports there, got my degrees, and I worked for a while in the sports world for a couple organizations like the Dallas Cowboys, a couple athletic departments before I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, so I decided to serve. I checked out all the other services, didn't know anything about the Coast Guard, and then kind of stumbled upon it in the shopping mall where I was at the Naval Recruiting Office. Found the Coast Guard. I applied to Officer Candidate School. I didn't get accepted initially, so I enlisted. I was a Maritime Enforcement Specialist. This is I went to the first graduating school at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center down in Charleston, South Carolina. I got my first choice, which was Charleston, so I worked there for a while. And then in the summers, we augmented the Great Lakes during law enforcement search and rescue missions there. I deployed twice, and that's one of the pictures. I was part of a Marine safety and security team, our vetting team, over in Kuwait. And then we also patrolled the oil platforms in the Iraqi waters. We also trained the Iraqi soldiers, and we were the last American military operation there before handing it over complete to the Iraqis, and President Obama brought us all home. And then, let's see, over the course of my enlistment, I applied to Officer Candidate School 2 more times. I always tell students, if you got a dream, protect it, keep going after it, don't let anybody tell you no. I finally got my commission here in 2012. So Tess outranks me only by a few weeks. My first assignment was back to a port security unit. It was a special assignment that I applied for and got 2 years. And then we had another deployment over to Kuwait. Actually, my unit now is in Cuba. And then I came to the Coast Guard Academy in 2014 as a reservist, worked doing active duty then, and then this past fall I signed a contract to do full active duty. And then I chose the Great Lakes because I am a geo bachelor. We have a 6-month baby at home over in Michigan with my wife, so it's a great way for me to be able to get home and continue doing the great mission for the Coast Guard Academy.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing. So what we'll do is the next 10 minutes or so, kind of run down a list of some of these items. Hopefully you can see them there on your screen, and then take any Q&A and wrap up the presentation with some questions and answers. If you finish before 30-minute mark, absolutely not a problem. We'll call it early. So let's start with kind of primary duties and responsibilities for the both of you. I know you mentioned a couple of them of what you've done in the office so far, but as far as what you're doing currently, and then also around base and maybe some other collateral duties to transition to as well.
You can take you've been here longer than I have.
We'll start with Darnell.
All right, primary duties. We are not recruiters, we're admissions officers, but we do the job of recruiting. I like to tell people that it's not hard to really recruit. We're going to get thousands of applicants. Probably the hardest is picking the right ones for that 300 to join the ranks and have potential to be great officers in the Coast Guard. The other duties with that too is reviewing every single application that comes within our region, as well as a few others from other regions too, so that we can provide that holistic view. So we're reading quite a bit and reporting quite a bit on those applicants who are trying to come to the Coast Guard Academy. That also includes our AIM, our summer programs, reviewing those applicants as well to select the lucky 550 to come and be a part of that program. So it's a lot of reading.
How many files do you think you read a year?
So I know the total number I've had over the last 3 years is 1,595 total applications. So divide that by 3. So
oh, okay, cool for that. I was like, wait, I didn't read that many.
So divide that by, I'm sorry, divide that by 4. So about 400, close to 400 each year.
Yeah, I read over 460 or something like that. But then you have to also think AIM.
AIM.
Yeah.
So that's just for the class app, and then for AIM, we review about 200 each year for the AIM process, because there's not as many people. Collateral duties. So mine have fluctuated, but this year I was in charge of recruiting leave. So those smart brainiac cadets, we offer them the opportunity to go home early or to wherever they're traveling for spring break or Christmas break if they've got a certain GPA and done certain things well at the academy. And so they go back to their homes or to whatever their areas where they do either an event for the Coast Guard Academy or a joint mission with Coast Guard Recruiting Command. They might go to their high school and talk to their counselor and present to their old sports teams. Or this year, something we started new was we gave them lists of students from their area that got accepted to the Coast Guard Academy but haven't exactly accepted their appointment. So it was an opportunity for them to talk to somebody at home. I'm also the liaison officer to our Academy Minority Outreach Team, which is AMOT, which is another extension of the Academy Partner Association. Partner program. So I'm that point of contact for them it's like a direct line to the admissions with that process and helping with our diversity and outreach recruitment efforts. And then I'm also a project officer for campus, recently just completing Captain McKenna's retirement ceremony.
Nice. Thanks, Darnell. Tess?
Beyond primary duties, I guess mine big one is property, which I guess doesn't involve any of you guys. So, yeah, because that's all I have listed right now. And I also help Mary with campus programs, as New England is also assistant to campus programs. So even before I was doing this job, I was helping her on the side with certain stuff that she had to do, like putting out signs and making sure certain stuff was in certain places for when we have the Academy Experience Program, Cadet for a Day, Bears Day, just because that's a constant thing that's always happening. We have a lot of stuff happening on campus, let alone on top of the fairs and doing interviews, working with you guys. It's just overwhelming a lot of the time. It's like it doesn't end, it turns out. It's a long cycle.
What other type of collateral duties do you find yourself or other admissions officers doing?
So one, I was about to mention it too, is we all have some type of mentees that are either in the Scholars Program or fourth class cadets here. So we do mentoring. A lot of us coach. One of us is the assistant coach for the lacrosse team. I'm working with strength and conditioning this coming summer and then hopefully track. There's all sorts of different seminars that go on campus about how to mentor or opportunities for you to network with officers above you, civilians, and other cadets to find out ways that we can help enrich not only the cadets, but us as officers here. And then, of course, whatever Captain or Alex or somebody like now ask us to do is part of a collateral duty.
There you go.
So life as an admissions officer, you both mentioned kind of family life, kids at home, things that are kind of transitioning, or maybe you're taking grad school classes. So besides, can you describe kind of like your typical life during the admission cycle, what you're doing, traveling, number of days, reading files, how those kind of trips go for you?
Well, for when I was doing West Coast, I was traveling 2 weeks at a time every month. So that is a little bit of a strain on family time and stuff like that. But it was kind of nice to be away in different states. I do 3 states at a time, travel there for 2 weeks, and then come back. On top of never reading files before and being overwhelmed, it was a lot at the beginning, and now it's a little more manageable. And now for being New England, I'm able to come home or just stay overnight for one night and come back. But it is also another where it's like, you're so local and we have this thing happening, so please come. Because I just had that the other day, actually on Thursday, where it was 3 hours before the appointment presentation, I was being told, you should probably go do this. So that's a little bit more last minute now being New England, just because you're more local. And it does, I don't think it's so bad when it's a little slower, where I'm like 8 to 4 for here. And it's nice not being a cadet and living on the shoreline, especially with the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm geo-bacheloring, so before we had our baby, my wife would come on a lot of events. She's like the unofficial partner for the academy. I put her in a Coast Guard shirt and have her stand there and hand out those shirts for me. But during the travel season, it's quite hectic. You're traveling to, say, a national convention. You might have a couple high school visits during that trip too, and then you've got files to read. We've got, usually 3 to 4 days to get all of our files read.
And staying on top of emails.
And then staying on top of the emails. We've got our work numbers in the office. We also have our cell phones that we got to check, especially when it gets towards those deadlines around October 15th or January 15th. You're fielding all those questions, making sure you make it to your flight okay, and then also checking the time zone, because a lot of us cross over and you lose track of time. So it's quite a bit.
Living out of suitcases.
And then on top of that, if you're here, we've got admissions duty officer duties as well as to fill in for the front desk, answer those questions that come into the front hotline. It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Your preferences as admissions officers, like what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
I like email.
Yeah.
Email's easier, and if we wanted to do a phone call, if you send an email first to make sure I'm just in the office, it's a little easier, because I check my email from home, and that's super easy. I don't check my phone until I get back on like Monday or whenever I'm done traveling. So that's easier for me, at least I feel like, just to set something up ahead of time.
Perfect. And then interacting with students, parents, or interacting with schools, and then your interactions with volunteers, how would those differ? So let's say like the information that you're telling a student, what questions you're trying to get out of them in order to move the conversation forward, and what you want to know about a student before kind of really kicking off a admissions officer type conversation or relationship with them.
I'll answer one with the partners. I love our partners. I love interacting. I love when they come and augment a college fair. I always tell people, not only does it make time go by faster, but I learn so much too from, and at the same time I'm able to be that front face of the academy to give up-to-date information, especially big cities like Chicago. It's great to have the partners there, because your table is filled and you lose your breath or you lose your voice really easily. At least I do, especially when you've got college fairs 3 days in a row back to back for 4 to 6 hours each. When it comes to the students that are interested, that interface with the student, I can't stand monitors and helicopter dads who want to speak and give the kids resume for them when they're standing right there. For me as an admissions officer, I'm really looking for that genuine piece. Like, you really are genuine about the Coast Guard Academy and being in the Coast Guard, and it's your dream and this is what you want.
I like getting questions though too from students. I feel like that's easier to start off a conversation by being able to answer a question, not just like generic, why should I come to your school? That bothers me all the time. But it's nice when like a kid seems interested and they have questions and want to know about programs and what we have to offer. That's a little nice. But I don't mind, like, I don't like parents who are hovering, but I don't mind answering questions. I like, it's nice interacting with a lot of people at a lot of different places. I don't think I've like had a super horrible experience. Unlike Shannon being cursed out on the phone, it is a lot of customer service, but sometimes it comes to a point where I can no longer speak to you because you're not being professional, kind of thing. But for the most part, it's nice having good conversations with people, especially when they come to you with questions.
Cool. And we'll finish up with kind of, I know Darnell, you alluded to it a little bit, but interacting with partners, volunteers. What's the best way that they can kind of find out whether or not you're going to be in the area, getting in touch with you to find out what they can do to support better or how to better support you during a trip?
I think I need to do a better job. But any events that I'm personally going to, I always make it a note on the event calendar saying Lieutenant Talbert will be here, or he is hosting it, or he's actually presenting it versus hosting it. And so I get partners who say, are you really going to be there? Can I come help? I've never said no.
I usually just go through the head partner for the state. I mean, like, I'm either going to go and be like, if anyone wants to help, or I have Megan post it, potentially, if I need something filled. But I usually interact with just the head partner, and then from there, field any emails that come in about it. Just because it makes it easier to have one point of contact. Because, you know, volunteers are great to have, because it does get overwhelming, and I can't drive 3 hours every day to one event, and so it's very helpful.
Great. Okay, so with that, that's a brief overview from our admissions officers and kind of their expectations from speaking with students and parents. Thank you very much, Tess and Darnell, for being here. So we got a good amount of people online right now. I know a few folks came in a little bit late. I got your names reported on our roster here. But what we'll do is we'll start going ahead and take any questions. So perhaps some of you have questions about their travel or meeting applications, or what some of them are advocating for in a committee, or how they go about advocating in a committee, or that process. If you have any questions that you'd like either Darnell or Tess to answer, please feel free to record those now in the thought bubble. Again, lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little I am thought bubble. That's the instant messenger. Just type right into there your question, and I will read it out for them, and we'll get that answered. So your first one coming up here. Is there a way when an event is added in our state to send a trigger to the park? So is there currently a way that's in place for you to notify folks of an event, or a way for partners to figure out if there is an event in their state? And my mind is the calendar, but if you have a way that you prefer.
Yeah, the calendar. If I'm doing a profile event like a workshop, I can send out to all the partners. Soliciting if you want to come be a part of it.
And Tess, do you have a way?
No, I feel like it's the calendar, or just contacting the head partner, maybe like your the details. Like I have one that made for boy state impact on mass, and I told Mr. Byron the date, like I'm going with it, but I'm going to be interested. Of course, like more interested, maybe everyone has jobs, so they think that it'll probably be me. But it's just the option if I'm going to something and I think, you know, possibly it would need more help. I'll send it out to the head partner.
Perfect. I know another way that information gets sent out for the bigger events, congressional events, cabinet workshops, Eagle events, those will be also in the scheduled events sent out in every newsletter, and that's sent out at the beginning of every month. So those are just a couple easy stops from the website, USCGA admissions, schedule an event. Easy place to find the calendar. You can search by state, you can search by event name, you can search by date. So those are a couple ways to go about that. Next question down here, how much does the interview report from partners count in the decision process? So from your experience as an admissions officer, what have you found? How helpful is the interview report? How much does it count in that committee room?
We don't really get a lot of say in the committee room, if we're honest. If I'm honest, I don't know if you think so, Darnell. I usually just sit there because it's, I try to put as much as I do in my review before it goes forward. And I'll make notes if someone was interviewed and it went well or if it went bad. And I'll even take a verbiage break from it, just to make it clear. And if it's another plug-in for the student for why they want to come, or the made that effort to set up an interview with someone.
Just to add, I've had my region for the last 3 years, so I know quite a bit of partners. So knowing them helps me understand that they are going to be a big viewer in my type of information. So I put a trust, especially if I don't just do it myself. I look at the interview, look at the admissions partner, make those comments, and it helps me put things more in perspective on my way forward.
Great. Thank you for that. Mr. White asks, when a prospective that fills out an inquiry card or creates an online profile, what can I tell them to expect? I'm assuming that's what to expect about the Bears account or the application itself. If you want to clarify that as they're starting to answer it, please feel free to do so, Mr. White. So if they're filling out a profile, what to expect as far as communication, contact.
It's really good for marketing.
Yeah, we just went back today. When someone fills out the inquiry, they get an email from our marketing director, Captain Retired Zoo People, and they start getting stuff in the mail. We can see, I used to be able to see the substitute for their communications, what they've gotten. And then in there, it's encouraging to reach out to the admissions officer. I saw another meeting that came from marketing that said that the admissions partners are out there and that contact us to get in touch with you all. That's something new that I just happened to see today.
All right. We've got a couple more minutes here. Our next question from Ms. Wong: opportunities and concurrent credit capital for students who are interested in medicine or to be doctors. So do you find that there are opportunities in the medical field or even veterinary sciences?
Wow. I'm already thinking the ranks on medical anyway. I have a lot of people who ask for nursing or doctorate. We do the physician assistant program, and that's the thing with all the other services we do down in San Antonio, Texas. My other half is actually a civilian physician assistant, so I kind of have a better idea of it, especially since it's in 6 figures of debt. We get civilian. You can get a lot of your shadow person here on campus, and programs that we don't offer certain graduates that you can't do here. You can do CrossFit on college for free. Mary Leon, who's doing campus programs right now, she's knocking out a lot of it right now. She's doing shadowing in their after shortly to get some of those hours. So it's totally feasible to go into the medical field. And even if you don't end up getting picked up for it here, the all those graduates have that that 5 years work experience. It looks probably really good, even on an application. And it makes you stand out compared to the other students. So it's really people to make that field. And even from the VA, there's a 3-year accelerated program to get your doctorate. So you can be a doctor if you really want to. So.
Great. So that kind of, as far as prereqs, I think you covered MES majors.
Yeah, MES is the main one just because they do biology and chemistry. So a lot of those prereqs that are involved with certain stuff like that, you can do in that track.
Wonderful. Mr. Stuckey, I got your question here. How's the calendar kept up to date? I know you see one event for the rest of 2018 for Virginia. A lot of the events are kind of populated over the summer as the admissions officers plan for their fall travel. So as we get through AIM in July, August really becomes our planning month for the travel fall. So you'll see a lot more events populated there. Events kind of die down a little bit in the summertime. June, July, and August is a little bit more of a light travel event month in the States, and then you'll see more come up at the end. You'll see a lot more events come up at the end of the summer. So I do want to mention that it is 1731, and that we will go ahead and say at this point, if you want to log off, you're welcome to do so. I think we have one more question here. If the admission officer can answer this, it's from Mr. Jones. If an event comes up that is not scheduled via the admissions program and we are asked if we participate, how do you report it? And
That's you.
yeah, and what I'll say there is if you participate in an event, or if you're going to participate in an event, just let myself and Ms. Megan Grills know. If you have participated in an event and you want to report it, submit that event summary, and that's a reminder to everyone logged in right now. Those event summaries are critical. It's how we track information to give out recognition to individuals. It's how we're tracking information for the benefit of the program and the strengthening program. So I appreciate you staying on top of that. But yeah, if you just let us know, we'll make sure that your name is added to kind of that roster, quote unquote, and someone would be aware that you're going to be there. But communication is key, so just letting your state coordinator know, letting your admissions officer know. And then I think that may be it. I see a lot of thank yous. And I have a possible event in August in Southwest Michigan. There we go. So it's right there. So that seems to be it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you to our admissions officers. Go Bears. Please let us know if you have any other questions. And provide.
Go Bears!
There you go. And provide us feedback for future webinars. We'd like to get you into those webinars. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Have a good day.